Welcome in to this test of the Palmetto Conservative Show here on the CV Media Network. I'm your host, Jim Lee, part political junkie, part technology geek, part commentator, and sometimes snarky agitator for the application of common sense and the pursuit of critical thinking in the marketplace of ideas, particularly as it relates to the Palmetto State. I don't profess to have all the answers, folks, just an awful lot of relevant questions. Usual and customary disclaimer here at the outset of the Palmetto Conservative Show. Not here to simply spew vitriol. Not here to give a speech, display rancor, vituperation, or bitterness. I'm not here intending to just throw incendiary language your way. But I am trying to inflame your senses. I'm not here to incite violence, but rather to incite something far more important. Something there's far too little of in our political discourse. And that is critical thinking. We're still working out the kinks here at the CB Media Network in getting the show off the ground. Therefore, there will be no call-in this evening, but you're here listening to the Palmetto Conservative Show. I'd love to have you become a regular. Got a fair amount of information to cover this evening. A lot going on in the world. A lot going on in our country, a lot going on in the great Palmetto State. If I can just find my notes, we'll get underway. Show prep is so difficult, not because it's so difficult trying to find things to talk about, but rather it's difficult in narrowing down all of the stuff there is to talk about. But that said, I'm sure that we'll manage our way through this evening. You know, I've been away for a bit, taking a sabbatical for a while, after completing an unsuccessful run for the state senate here in South Carolina. And it was quite an experience, to say the least, particularly after having run for Congress in 2010. But we're coming out the other side of that. I've completed the decompression phase of our recovery, and can officially report that I am in fact a recuperating and a recovering candidate for public office. I highly encourage you to try it sometime. It'll teach you more about the process of elections, the process of party primaries, the process of being a candidate than any other political science class could possibly teach you. But I digress. We hope you've been well. We've been off the air now for approximately, maybe 4 months. And much as I would like to have stayed on the air throughout that time, it was essential that take that time to get away afterwards. Gain some distance and perspective in the course of things. Bear with me 1 second here as we get our subject matter together. Let me start out, if I could. I'd like to instruct my erstwhile producer to begin to bring up the soft music in the background as I prepare to head down a rabbit hole and a rant, as I am wont to do. If you are in South Carolina, hopefully what I'm about to talk about is not completely new news to you. If you're outside of South Carolina, the odds are pretty good that you've probably not heard anything because, well, once again, the mainstream media continues to fail in doing its job. We, here in South Carolina, are in the midst of a general election cycle that was preceded by a primary season that saw over 250 candidates removed from the ballot, and thus disenfranchising millions, potentially, of South Carolina voters who, for the first time prior to this debacle would have had the opportunity to choose someone to represent them for the first time in a long time. In my particular race, the incumbent had run unopposed for 28 years. Now allow that to sink in. For 28 years, everyone in the district apparently believed that the incumbent was doing such a fine job that no one need run. Well, I don't buy that. I believe that in 28 years, no one with the gumption and resources and the ability to serve in the manner that is prescribed by the way our state government is set up here in South Carolina bothered to run. Let me explain that a bit. In South Carolina, we have a part-time legislature. Now, don't get me wrong, they do more damage part-time than the average legislature, but our state senators and our state House members make, with allowances and per diem and everything else, roughly $22,000 to $30,000 a year, which is very difficult to live on. But it does consume the better part of 5 or 6 months out of every year. So unless you are of the variety that is self-sufficient, financially independent, unless you are able to be a business owner and have other people who can focus on bringing in revenue while you're off playing legislator, or you are somehow politically connected and able to do that on your own,